We'd like to thank Brian for the help with this. This is being taped, and it'll be available probably the next couple days on hls.media. So if there's something you missed, or you're like, oh, what did they say, or I didn't quite catch that, you certainly can watch it there. If you have a friend that says, oh, I wasn't able to make it, you can direct them to hls.media, and we'll also have the presentation available there as well. We have an ability to ask questions during the presentation through, I think we do, is that correct, Brian? We have that going? Yes. So there's a link there off of hls.media for questions as well. So if you're joining us through the live stream, you can ask questions there, and those will come through to us. And if we don't answer it during the presentation, we'll be sure to reach out to you and answer those questions. And the counselors are always available to meet and talk with parents and students about this process. This is for me, one of the more exciting parts of the job is to sit down and meet with seniors and their parents and talk about what their plans are leaving Highland High School and where they're heading. And it's just an exciting time. It can be a scary time. It can be a little anxious time there, but somehow it all falls into place and things end up going pretty well. So, all right, we'll go ahead and get started. But yeah, we definitely want you to keep calm and enjoy the senior year. That's there's no reason to panic at this point. We've got plenty of time to get all your questions answered and everything in. You haven't missed any deadlines yet, so we're all in good shape there. The first message is from Mrs. Colleen, and Mrs. Colleen is one of the secretaries in the front office there, and one of her tasks is to update the senior page and keep dates on there as far as stuff for ordering graduation announcements, ordering cap and gown. It's kind of crazy we talked about that already, and just all that, things like that. Talking about we'll have updates on when the scholarship meeting is and all that stuff on our webpage too. But Mrs. Colleen will update that. Yearbooks actually just came in, so your seniors will be able to get those here soon, the next couple days, in the foyer there. Let's see what else. Yep, dates, deadlines, graduation. So also looking for parents to organize and put together the baccalaureate at the end of the year at one of the local churches. That's kind of a parent-driven event. It's been a nice tradition here at Highland for quite a long time. So that's Mrs. Colleen. There's that link that I was talking about for questions. So if we don't cover that tonight, we will certainly reach out your student's counselor, which we'll introduce here in just a moment, and answer those questions. Here are the school counselors. We have the newest member of our team this year, taking over for students A through F is Mrs. Rains. All right, so welcome, Mrs. Rains. Mrs. Lakin's back this year with students G through L. Mrs. Colbo is students M through R. And I'm Mr. Addington, and working with students S through Z. We have two of our other team members that are probably, I want to say more important than us, but they kind of keep us in line and probably have a tougher task than us most of the time, trying to keep us organized and doing things the same and keep making it a little bit easier for them. Mrs. Gamoff, who has been here for quite a few years and just done a tremendous job of getting just probably one of the most organized people that I've ever met, and just does a tremendous job here. So, and Mrs. Grosenick, who kind of splits her time between the front office and the counseling office there to help out. We've had increased numbers of applications over the year, especially with the Common App, and they send out typically around 1,300 or 1,400 applications every year, and they do it flawlessly. So that's a lot. Each student is applying to 3, 4, 5, sometimes more, sometimes just one, but about 1,300 or 1,400 usually on average. So I appreciate all that they do. I'm going to hand it over to Mrs. Colbo at this point. And like I said, this is going to be taped, so if you miss anything, you certainly have a chance to check it out there again.
Thank you. So I'm just going to briefly go into sort of a little bit about communication, how you can expect to hear from us. First and foremost, if you haven't been able to do this, if you sign up for e-communications at the website, this is super important, especially if you have a child move buildings, ensuring that you're signed up for district and for the school. This is how emails go out to all the parents, and we actually are able to send them out to like 12th grade parents about specific events. A lot of the communications coming out of the district office or coming out of the principal's office are going through here. We coordinate with Mrs. Knapp to kind of try and send less emails, but more thorough emails. So make sure that you have this up to date. You won't get double emails. So if you're not sure, you can go ahead and sign up for this. And then we have senior class advisors. Mr. Murray and Miss Colville are the two teachers that run that, and they have a Google Classroom that we're asking seniors to sign into. That's the Google Classroom code. So you would go to classroom.google.com. Your student would need to be signed into their Highland account. They enter this the code that's right up there, and it would add them into the classroom. I'm one of the administrators on there, so there's going to be instances maybe where we might have something that has to come out of the counseling office. We're going to post it there as well. We're not trying to make everybody go to 50 different places to get information. So this is going to talk a little bit more about things like Senior Sunrise, which is tomorrow. Those sorts of events that are incorporating a lot of those traditions, exciting senior things. This is a great place where all the 12th graders should be signed up. So that brings us to check your email. And I think a lot of our 12th graders are becoming old pros at this. I mean, they are writing back so quickly. I'm so impressed. And so it's just important. It's a key form of communication. It's our primary form of communication that counselors are reaching out, especially, we may have a discrepancy. You turn in a transcript request form, it says one thing, and that looks a little bit different than what we're seeing in Naviance. I'm sending you an email, and I am expecting that student bears the responsibility of checking their email and kind of staying on top of those things. So we do want to just give a friendly reminder, if that's not a habit that you're in as a 12th grader, that this is the rest of your life. You'll probably just be checking email, so might as well get started now. I'm going to talk a little bit about graduation requirements. So we leaped ahead a little bit there and talked about college applications, but one of our primary objectives in addition to that is to ensure all of our students are prepared academically to meet the Ohio Department of Education standards for a high school diploma, and then in addition, Highland Local Schools requirements. So I'm going to go over that briefly. There's a lot here. This is something we are reviewing annually, and I can attest, if you're on my caseload and you come in my office, I'm probably saying, do you have your speech, PE, and health done? It's something that I say to almost every student. But these are our graduation expectations. In order to earn a high school diploma, you need to have those 4 units or credits, and you earn a credit for a full academic year of a course. So that would be semester 1 and semester 2 of English equals 1 full credit or unit. So students are having 4 credits of English, math, 3 for social studies and science. They need at least 1 unit for a world language, 1 of a visual or performing arts. So your band, orchestra, intro or foundations of art would count for that. A half a credit unit of health, so that's 1 semester of a health course. PE is a half a unit, but that's actually 2 semesters of PE, or 2 seasons of a sport or 2 seasons of marching band, which does require some extra paperwork. So that's something that we work with students on. And then the electives, basically there's extra credits beyond that you need to get to the 21 credits required for graduation. Yes. In addition to academic requirements, there's also a requirement in all the current 12th graders, class of 2023. We talked to them about this at Junior Jumpstart, but they should be on their way or done, hopefully, with earning 15 hours of community service. That is a local graduation requirement for Highland Local Schools, and it earns them their community service seal, which is required by the state of Ohio. In order to graduate, they need to earn a local seal. our local SEALs the 15 hours of community service. So if that's something that isn't on the horizon for your student or for you, or you need help, that's something to talk to your counselor about, so we can find some good opportunities for you. Use it as a way to get connected with the community, use it as a way to do some career exploration. We actually bumped up sort of the time frame. We wanted to include some of junior year because we want that to be an opportunity that students can talk about and use as part of their college and career exploration as well. So beyond that, I'm going to pass it over to Mrs. Rains, and she's going to talk a little bit about how athletics and academics collide.
All right, so if your student is a high school athlete, they have a few requirements that they have to meet to be eligible. You can see them on the screen, but they include passing at least 5 courses in their previous semester. They have to have a GPA that is higher than 1.5, and they have to carry a course load of at least 2.5 credits per semester. If your student is next slide, is going to be a college athlete, D1 or D2, they have to register with an NCAA clearinghouse. If your student is going to do this, please make sure that they let their counselor know so that we are staying in the loop with their after graduation plans.
Thank you. All right, let's get into the fun stuff. We're going to be talking about some post-secondary planning. This will be the bulk of the presentation today. The big 3 things that we're looking for our seniors to pursue after high school is one of the big 3 E's. Either enroll into a post-secondary institution, enlist into the military, or employ. So you're looking to go into the workforce. So our goal as counselors is to work with you guys, work with the families, work with the students to make sure that before they take that next step into life, they have a clear path to what they're planning to do in that upcoming fall year. So first we're going to talk about the enrolled aspect of it, going into a post-secondary institution immediately after high school. We always want to keep a pulse of where our graduates are going, largely because every year a lot of colleges and institutions offer counselor workshops for us to connect with them, and that's just for us to be able to build rapport with our colleges to kind of see, okay, what are you looking for this year? What's a niche of something? What are things that we can kind of communicate back to our community? The top 5 for the class of 2022, University of Akron, Ohio State, Kent State, BG, and then Miami University of Ohio. This is something that I know that we're talking about it today, but there have just been a lot of planning that's gone into, as you guys know, the senior year. These are just kind of some examples of things that here at the high school we've done up until today. We're doing grade level meetings. You guys have taken the PSAT, the SAT multiple times. We meet with you individually. For juniors, you guys got 1 excused college visits. As seniors this year, you guys on paper get 2 excused college visits for you guys to go attend college, put your feet on the ground for college campuses that you're interested in. Believe me, if you need more than 2, it's okay. As long as you guys are coming to school and doing well academically, talk with your counselor, and we are more than happy to provide you an additional couple of days because we really want to make sure that you guys feel confident in the colleges that you guys are attending. And then we're also doing transcript audits. And we'll kind of talk about the timeline of this in the upcoming years. The Knack Act, this is a source that we try to keep a pulse on. They have not come out with any new surveys or studies since 2019, which is very unfortunate because, as we all know, that's right before COVID hit. So some of this is probably going to look different. So we are hopeful that in the next coming months or year, they're going to come out with an updated survey. This is also something that we just really want to keep a pulse on. Pretty much the question asks, what are colleges looking for? Whenever they're reviewing your application, whenever they're reviewing admissions and looking to see who they want to accept, what are the big ticket items that they're going to prioritize? This has been pretty darn consistent. I've been a counselor since 2015. The top 5 have pretty much stayed consistently throughout that whole time. They're looking at the grades in your courses, the grades in your college prep courses, they're looking at the strength of the curriculum. So are you challenging yourself, and are you doing well whenever you're challenging yourself? Pretty much is the gist of that. Every single transcript that we send whenever you guys apply to a college, attached to that is going to be our school profile. What our school profile contains, amongst many things, but one of a big thing that it contains is what are the AP honors courses that we offer here at the high school. So what they're going to do is they're going to compare the transcript with the course offerings that we have. And if you're looking at colleges that are more competitive than others, we typically consider that if there's less than a 50% acceptance rate, that's really something that they're going to be taking a look at to seeing, did you challenge yourself whenever you're in high school? Or are you going to be prepared for that next step? Next, we want to talk about just the applications in general. This really becomes a big conversation, and whenever we're going to sit down and have these individual senior interviews, what we're trying to do is we're trying to get you guys to understand the differences in how you apply to colleges. There's three main ways that you guys are going to apply: early decision, early action, and then regular decision, and then also rolling admission. So I guess there's 4. Early decision is one that we really want you to pay attention to, because what this means is it is a binding contract, okay? If you guys apply early decision to a college, that means that you are binding yourself to that college. If you guys get accepted, that's where you're going. No ifs, ands, or buts. Now, I say that, and then there's also caveats, as sometimes there are ways to get out of it. Usually there's a financial cost to it. But very few of our students do this. The reason that our students do choose to do this, and believe me, it is a lengthy conversation whenever that happens. It's a lengthy conversation between you guys in the family and then with the counselor as well. But a big reason that students end up doing this is if you're looking for a reach school, and that is a reach school to you, which means that just based off of the criteria that they're looking for, there's less than a 25% chance of admissions. It's something that you really want to go to. It is your #1 college. You've been to the campus multiple times. You know that that is the college that you want to go to. I don't care how much money I'm paying, that's where I want to go. What it could do is it could give you a leg up. It could increase your chances. There's never a guarantee. It could increase your chances, and the reason is because those really selective colleges, they're focused on their yield rate. They're focused on, they want to get a high percentage yield rate. The people that are applying are going to be coming to the institution. So if you're applying early decision and they say yes to you, that's pretty much guaranteeing that you guys are going to be attending that college. Does that make sense? Really something that we want to pay attention to, and each contract is different, especially within the last couple of years, I would say. Whenever we've sat down and read language on different contracts, some of them are very specific. If I recall last year, Dr. Gilbert, one of his students had one to where if you were applying early decision to that institution, they wouldn't even let you apply early action to any other institutions, which was just very unique. So make sure you're reading into all that, and it's really a decision that you guys feel super, super confident about. The next one, and this is our most common one that students apply for, this is called early action. This is not legally binding. You can apply to every single college that offers early action. You can apply early action. You can get accepted into all of them, and you can figure out which one you want to go to. Typically, the early action deadlines, November 1, November 15th, December 1st. Those are the main 3 that we see. Every college is different. For the most part, they stay consistent year to year, but sometimes they make changes. So make sure that you're just paying attention to the college's deadline on their website to figure out when that's going to happen. Like I said, you don't have to commit to it. So you can apply, you can get your acceptances, and then you can kind of get your financial aid packages and figure out which one's going to be the best for you. A lot of honors colleges will use this deadline. So if you're looking to apply to an honors college at the university that you're attending, a lot of times they're going to say you need to apply by early action. Same thing with scholarships. A lot of times merit-based scholarships, they base that off of the early action deadline. The other thing I want to note about this, and this is just kind of calm your guys' nerves because I know that it can get super exciting and overwhelming. Just because the deadline is like November 1st, it's not going to increase your chances of getting in if you applied today, all right? The way that they review applications for early action deadlines, they wait until November 1st, and then they take them all, and then they weed them out. It's not like this person applied September 7th, we're going to give them, a better chance of getting accepted. We want to make sure that as we're going through this application process, we are being as thorough as possible. So it is going to take a little bit of time for that to happen, but it's in the long run, it's going to be better for you, and I promise you, it's not going to hurt your chances by any means of getting accepted. Okay, and then the last one we have here, this is rolling admissions. So it's just broader deadlines, pretty much. If they're rolling admissions institution, that means that they're just, every time that you apply, they're just going to review your application as is. You're typically going to see this for your not as competitive colleges and universities. And then your chances of admissions will be much stronger early on because there's more spaces to fill. The results could change the rest of your admission strategy. So if you get accepted, waitlisted, rejected, so this, you're typically, like I said, you're typically going to see this with your less competitive colleges and universities. Okay, so is this me or you? It's you, okay. Mr. Addington, no, take it, no, please.
Oh, thank you. One thing I wanted to add to that, that's one of the questions we often get is, if they apply early, they have a better chance of getting a better dorm, are they going to get more money? So I've been asking that question to the counselors that we see at the colleges, and everyone I've asked, they said, well, we don't even look at scholarships until the FAFSA is done, and we look at that as well, and that doesn't even open until October 1st. And they say, we're not going to look at dorms until they turn their deposit in, and then it's it's on by lottery, or it's random, or it's honors college first, and then everyone else next. So there's really, as Mrs. Lakins there, as Julie said, not really an advantage to get it in now. So I always tell students that, I said, you want to get it in before November 1st. I'm not saying don't get it in today, but don't wait until the last day of October to send that in. Don't do that either. So we're going to start working with students here coming up on that. So we'll talk about that here now, actually. So what we're going to do is we're going to ask students to meet with us individually as a counselor. We're going to start processing those applications and those requests for transcripts and all that after Labor Day. So I believe that's the 6th, if I'm remembering the calendar correctly there. So we're going to start meeting with students then. So we'll have really all of September, all of October to meet that November 1st deadline, which for 99% of the schools, that's the earliest deadline. Every once in a while, we'll see one like on October 15th for a specific program or something like that. But the vast majority are November 1st or December 1st are the two big ones. So we have time for that. We'll talk to them about asking for those letters of recommendation if it's needed and talking to those teachers. This is something, too, that I've had some of my students say they're already giving teachers kind of a heads up for that, and that's fine. They give teachers a chance to work on those because especially some of our teachers that teach upperclassmen mostly, they're going to get hit pretty hard with requests for letters of recommendation. They're happy to do it. They love doing that, but they're just going to need a little time to get those done sometimes. So, and those are going to go through Naviance as well. So we'll work with your student on how to request those through Naviance. They get submitted from the teacher through Naviance. And I don't want to take Mrs. Calbo's, she's going to talk about Naviance. I don't want to take that away from her, but everything's going to go through that. The ACT, SAT testing, if necessary. We see more students going test optional or more colleges accepting that. Check those deadlines. Typically, you're going to want to take the ACT, SAT like the next one so that the scores come back before that November 1st deadline. So check the registration deadlines on those. Attending college visits, and we told juniors that last year. Start going over the summer, spring break. It's still not too late to do college visits, and it's not a bad idea before you make that final decision and send in that deposit check to go make one more final visit there and just make sure that it's going to be a good fit for you. Apply, and we're going to talk a little bit later about the different ways to apply. So this is all stuff that we're doing here early on, right out of the gate. That FAFSA October 1st. College Now, we have Dr. Gates with us here. So we're going to let her talk about that here soon. Local scholarship applications. So really, first semester is working on applications to the college. Second semester, for the most part, is where we talk about scholarships. and work with the seniors on applying for those scholarships. Only a couple like regional scholarships that are before then, and we're going to put those on Naviance, and we usually send out announcements through the students' emails as well to look for those. And with the scholarship now, we'll talk about how the local ones are the ones that fewer applicants for those, sometimes maybe just 1 or 2 or 10. You start getting the regional ones, and you're getting hundreds and maybe even thousands of applicants. The national ones, you're talking tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of applicants. So your chances of getting the local ones are just a lot better. So we encourage seniors for those. And then May 1st is the deadline when they have to make a decision. So that's one of the questions that always comes up. You know, once I'm accepted, do I have to let them know? You don't. It's going to be May 1st is when you have to let them know. That's usually when those deposits on dorms and things like that are due at the college. So a little bit of time to figure that out. Some people know now, some have no idea, and that's okay. And that's one of the things that I tell my seniors all the time. I think it's something we do as adults, and it's probably not I know why we do it, and I do it too. You're always like, what do you want to do when you grow up? You know, and it's just, you know, and the kid's like, I'm 7 years old, I have no idea. I haven't experienced anything in life yet, how can you ask me that? So it's, but I understand why we do that. But if they don't know now, that's fine too, you know. And I know it's easy when I'm not the one writing the check, you know, to the colleges and letting them figure it out on my dime. But, you know, they do figure it out. And if they don't know now, that is okay. Deadlines. We've gotten in the habit in the last few years especially of having very soft deadlines for a lot of things, and I'm not sure we're doing our students favors on that. When it starts coming to college applications and scholarship applications there, and deadlines, they're hard deadlines. We've had students that you know, missed the Ohio State deadline, you know, by a day, and they're like, sorry, you're not going to be considered for any merit-based scholarships. You know, you can apply a regular decision, and you're going to be in a much bigger pool, and your chance of getting in are going to be a lot less. But we'll consider you there. So don't miss deadlines. Again, doesn't need to be today, but you don't want to push it either. Crazy things can happen with technology and computers. Naviance has helped a ton with that because we get a timestamp of when we send it. We get a timestamp of when they received it and opened it, so we can see this all electronically. So I've had students, you know, come back in later on and say, you know, I really want to go to this school. We sent things in 2 weeks ago. Can you check to see if they received it? Be happy to do that. So nothing wrong with that either. But make sure that they're watching these deadlines. It takes us some time to process those too. So when students come in, you know, the day before and say, hey, this is due tomorrow, can you get that out for me? We're going to do everything we can to do that. But sometimes, and especially as we get closer to those deadlines, those requests just start literally piling up, feet in the air. And Mrs. Gamoff and Mrs. Grasenic are here as fast as they can getting those processed. So work with us, you know, get those in. Usually we say give us 10 business days to do that. If you get it in 10 business days, we're guarantee we're going to get it there. If it's you know, within that, you know, like I said, we try. Mrs. Gamoff, I don't think has ever missed a deadline. In the years that she's been here, she's probably done just tens of thousands of applications there, as long as people got things in, students got things in on time. So same thing with letters of recommendations and scholarships. So applying to college, again, we'll let Mrs. Coble talk more about Naviance, but that has really helped, I think, us keep things organized. Gone are the days of filling out paper applications and sending those in through the mail and waiting for a paper reply. Everything's really done electronically now, and Naviance is one of those tools, like I said, that really kind of organizes that. So we try to get students familiar with the Naviance platform in middle school and in early high school, and it's still all open. So if students want to do the super match and look at colleges and put in all the different parameters, that's still open to them. It's not because they're seniors they can't use that. So they can still put those in, see what's going to be a good match for them, what colleges in the area have the program they're looking for. They might know more information now than they did as a freshman or sophomore, so it might not be a bad idea to do that one again. So yeah, research, see if you want to send your ACT or SAT. That's been a hot topic question here recently, do I send my test score in or not? And the general rule of thumb is if you're within that range or above that the school's looking for, you send it in. If you're not, then you don't. You try to let your transcript speak for itself. Then people are like, well, am I taking the risk that they know my score probably isn't high enough if I didn't turn it in? Yeah, possibly. But each school is going to look at that differently. And there's one thing that I've learned, and we had Jeff Slingo come in last spring, and I really see this process in colleges kind of like casinos. You know, they're always going to hold the cards. You know, they're always going to be the ones that kind of make the rules. They're always going to be the ones that are going to kind of win in the end. And we're just the ones that are hoping to, try to figure out how to play that game, but they're always 2 steps ahead of us. So we really don't know what goes on behind the doors, every time. But we're going to try to help those students put their best foot forward and get the best chance to get accepted to the schools that they want to go to. Let's see. So we use the Common Application. We don't use the Coalition application. So if you see colleges, most colleges that we work with are Common App. Some also accept Common App and then go directly to the institution. So this is something we'd want to talk to your son or daughter about, depending on the number of schools that they're applying to, and if they need or have to do the Common App. It can be an advantage, sometimes it's not. If I have a student come in that says, I'm applying to Akron and Kent, should I do the Common App? I'm like, no. It's going to be so much quicker for you to apply directly to the institution and not have to do the essays. It's going to take you probably about 15, 20 minutes tops, and it's not going to give you any advantage to do the Common App. Now, if they say I'm going to do Ohio State, then absolutely you have to do the Common App. Then you can attach all those other schools on, but it's a lengthy process. It takes quite a long time. There are a lot of different sections. It's one application that you can send to then multiple schools, but it's big. It takes hours to do. So it's really, talk with us and see what's the advantage if you should do the Common App or not. If you did it and didn't have to, nothing hurt there except some time. And some people say, well, it really helped me to write out that essay, and I'm going to use that for scholarships, and it was a good process for me to go through anyway. All that stuff is absolutely true. So don't kick yourself if you did that and didn't have to. There's some advantages, and you gain some stuff from doing that anyway. But we're going to use the Common App and not the Coalition App. So the ones that go right through the institution, like I said, those are usually a little quicker. Sometimes you can get application fees waived that way. A lot of the schools that we work with very closely and our students apply to the most, Akron, Kent, the ones that are closer to us. A lot of times they are waiving that application fee pretty late into the game, sometimes even into the spring. Sometimes they just do it early on just to try to get you to apply early. And some schools try to get you to apply early and then commit early. Again, take a look and see, just what advantages is there to commit early to that. Usually none. Sometimes just part of their marketing, and they're fighting for students just like businesses are fighting for customers. So, the Common App, you fill out that one application. It's lengthy. There's an essay involved. So students, that opened up on August 1st, so they can take a peek. They can look at those essays. Sometimes if you go to a specific school, there are supplemental essays that pop up, so they can check those out too. Teachers are here to help with that. Most of the senior English classes are working on that specifically, and those teachers can review that. We'd be happy to help them with that too. But that is like I said, the Common App is a lengthy process, and be aware of those deadlines. Next will be Ms. Cobo talking about Naviance.
Well, I feel like Mr. Addington got you guys all very excited for Naviance. So I just want to back up just a bit. It's something that students have been hearing about if they've been in the district. But so Naviance is a web-based platform that Highland pays for our students 6th grade through 12th grade. And it serves all sorts of purposes. It has some great college and career preparatory curriculum, videos, various inventories, which are actually, copyrighted inventories that our students have access to use free of charge for our families. When it comes to senior year, we love when students have had all that familiarity and they're able to get to it quickly. quickly, because come to senior year, it really does serve a lot of very important purposes during the college application process. So students are going to be adding in the colleges that they're applying to, or they are linking it, syncing it up with the Common App, which there's an integration there, which is awesome. And then they are going to be requesting transcripts, and that is the method that we need to submit transcripts through, like Mr. Addington mentioned. I love it because I can literally go in and we get confirmation codes. We can look at when a college or university opened up the transcript, and we also provide the school profile, which Mrs. Lakins referenced. We provide a counselor evaluation. This is the portal through which our teachers provide their recommendations and evaluations, and that needs to be requested through Naviance. So it really is an important portal that students will start to get familiar with, and we are more than happy to sit down with them and kind of look through it with them as well. The problem is, as Mr. Addington has alluded to, when it comes to the end of October, they are one of hundreds of students that are wanting to figure out how to use Naviance. So working through it at a nice pace, getting in there, making yourself familiar with it in advance is only going to serve you throughout this process. It's also really helpful for us. We can kind of keep tabs on where students are applying. We will look, if a student says they're applying to the University of Akron with a December 1 deadline, we're keeping an eye on that. Once again, checking your email, odds are, if I don't see an application submitted, you probably do have something in your inbox from me asking you if you're still going to be applying there. And what's not up here as well is eventually in January, that is where we're listing local scholarships. And local scholarships, you'll learn so much more about those, but generally that's where families are going to kind of find the highest odds for getting some money to help support the post-secondary options, and that is where our full listing for those are. And so it is helpful for students, like I said, to get familiar with it and to start exploring that platform. So you would go ahead and access that through the Clever portal. Like so many things today, everything kind of has a single sign-in login, so our students, you can kind of click through. We do have our own sort of unique URL, so you can't just go to naviance.com and just kind of get in there. We have a Highland Naviance, so there is a kind of a path you need to follow in order to get logged into there. Most of our 12th graders are very familiar with how to navigate here. Okay, so this is an actual screenshot, and I'm kind of, it's not the greatest, I apologize, but that big pink banner up there, what is really neat is that's how you match accounts with Common App. So one of the first questions I typically ask a senior is, are you going to be using the Common application? We evaluate, is it a good fit for them? And in case we can sync it up, and when they change something on Common App, it'll change on Naviance and vice versa. It's quite magical. Students will need to, if they're not using Common App, add their colleges with that pink plus button, and they're then going to need to request a transcript for each of those colleges for us to then send it through that portal. This is something we just want people to be super aware of. So Naviance is a portal that we use as a tool and institutions of higher education use as a tool. It is only as powerful as it's updated on our end and updated on their end. So I could go in and I could look at a student's Naviance portal and say, oh, look at that, they're applying to, Miami University or wherever, and then I'll talk to them, oh, I put that in there in 8th grade, Mrs. Colbo, I'm not applying there. Well, it's not super useful for me because it's not up-to-date information. The same can be said on the other end. We can't control when or if an institution, a college institution, has gone in and updated some information. So we have found that sometimes the deadlines are incorrect. That does not affect, whether it still works as a portal to transmit the transcripts. What it does affect is just whether you are keeping tabs on that timeline. So we always recommend to kind of create your to-do list based off of institutional deadlines that you found on that institution's website. So if Ohio State is the institution of the dreams here, we want to go to Ohio State's website and check their deadlines, not necessarily just full faith trust what we're seeing in Naviance. just a process of double checking. I recommend, and this is kind of how my brain works, everybody's a little bit different, but I would recommend having sort of a table or chart where you have the institutions you or your child are interested in, and then you're going to want to look at, okay, what's the early action deadline? Is that kind of what we're aiming for? And then you kind of work backwards from there. Typically, a lot of these things are all going to be the same, so you usually want to kind of pick your first early action deadline and just have everything done by then. But there may be instances where there's a supplemental essay that might need a little extra attention, and you might kind of stagger your applications. So one of the questions we get a lot on Naviance is whether to send the ACT or the SAT score. We do not send SAT or ACT scores from our institution. And this is actually, I think we're ahead of our time with this. So there are some high schools that have put them directly on high school transcripts, leaving students with no choice sometimes to report their scores. We do not report SAT and ACT scores on a high school transcript. That is a choice made by the student or the family, which scores to submit and which institutions to which they are going to submit those scores. So you can choose, maybe your SAT or ACT score is super strong in the eyes of one college or institution, and maybe it's not as strong somewhere else. You might try and make sort of a strategic decision there. So in all instances, when we're talking about submitting those scores, you are going to be submitting them directly from the institution that administers that test. So the SAT and the PSAT are administered by an institution called College Board. Even if you sat here in our hallways and took it in the spring during a school day, that is still housed at College Board, and that is the website a student would log into to send those scores. And ACT is sent by an institution called ACT. Same thing, students may have come to Highland on a Saturday and taken that test. That we just are merely a facility used for testing. We're not in charge of those scores. We can't manage those scores. Oftentimes we'll keep tabs on them, but I may not even have the most up-to-date scores depending on if you did testing off-site over the summer or something like that. We're not in like a special communication. College Board isn't giving us free information all the time. So another thing to think about, right? We're having these big decisions about strategy. Do I send my score? Do I not send my score? We call the admissions office. They're not tracking or tapping your phone to figure out who you are and matching it up if you give them your score. Oftentimes I will call an admissions office and paint a picture of a student and ask the admissions advisor, what do you think? What I have experienced more times than not, and maybe I'm just a little skeptical, what I do hear is that we're never going to hold it against them. A lot of times I hear that that they say, if a score isn't the best, we're not going to hold it against a student. I'm not sure about the accuracy of that. Like Mr. Addington said, it's behind closed doors. We don't really know. We're just trying our best to advocate for students to get them the best possible chance. But what I can say is that typically the admissions office, their goal is to enroll students. And Mr. Addington referred to a wonderful speaker we had come in, Jeff Salingo. He came in February? Yeah, this past spring semester. The Highland Foundation generously supported having him here. He workshopped with our counselors and our administration. He met with students, he met with family members, and he provided a ton of insight to us as to kind of how to think about this. And one of the things I really took away from it is that colleges and universities are playing their own game. They're trying to work their way up the rankings, U.S. World News and Report, and so they have certain motivations as well. And I think it'll be interesting to see what starts happening as institutions make scores test optional, because my sort of hypothesis is that usually just higher scores are getting submitted, and so then an institution can turn around and say, wow, look at how high our scores are. Well, really, it's kind of a selection bias. So there is some strategy with this. Long story short, I could go on and on about this sort of stuff. You have to go straight to that institution and make that decision for each application or what makes the most sense for your family. So there's a nice screenshot just showing you, do not select the part that says submit unofficial SAT or ACT scores, even if we don't send it. So that's not, don't think that you're fulfilling your duty. Naviance is not the place to send test scores from. So just a few things that, are newer trends. We kind of wanted to get rid of calling everything COVID or not COVID, but applying to college has been changing. The world's rapidly changing. So a few things that have come up are the test optional aspects. Another amazing thing we learned from the Jeff Salingo visit, because he worked in college admissions offices, is they are tracking student engagement. So they take a risk when they send you an admissions letter. They're kind of risking whether you're going to say yes or no. Think of it like asking somebody to prom, are they going to say yes? I don't know, right? And they will, when it comes down to it, analyze. Now, do all institutions do this? Probably not, right? But some will analyze how engaged you've been with that institution, including whether you click open their emails or attend virtual events. That was mind-boggling to me, and his book goes through this great historical analysis of when admissions shifted over and when private businesses kind of started coming in and consulting with college admissions offices, and that's what they started doing back, I think in the 70s. They started tracking postcards. Who mailed those, I'm interested in more information postcards back, and those people got saved on a list. So if there's that dream place, that maybe early decision place that's in the back of your mind, I would be clicking open those emails. I don't know. It could just be 45 seconds a day that's wasted, but what we understand from investigative journalism in college admissions offices is that it probably does have an impact. There's nothing wrong with communicating directly to the College of Admissions. We make those phone calls. I really try to empower students. I think they get a little freaked out in my office when they ask me a question. I go, I don't know, let's call them. And then I just throw on speakerphone and we do it. It's great skill building. These are skills that our students need to learn how to do once they are freshmen at college. They're going to need to learn how to call college offices and navigate that process. So this is the time to start. And then a lot of times extracurriculars, we're looking at gaps in our resume, looking at gaps in our volunteer history or our work history. And so let's think creatively. What are ways that we can get involved so we can make sure that we look like we've been members of our community even throughout the pandemic. So letters of recommendation. Once again, it's run through. Yeah, Naviance. Look, you guys are pros. You're ready. So I'm just going to kind of run through some of these things that people don't quite know. Colleges will have oftentimes a maximum, and sometimes they will not accept any. So we really don't want to waste a letter writer's time. We really do spend quite a bit of time. I know I do. I pull up multiple screens on my computer. I go through my email to see how my correspondence has been with a student. I go through their Junior Jumpstart survey, which Mrs. Lakins will go into later. I take it very seriously because I realize that there's a lot of responsibility in being able to represent somebody to an admissions office. So, and I know our high school teachers do as well. So we want to really make sure we're only asking teachers whose letters are going to get read, okay? And so we're not going to want to submit extra ones. So I have a process I advise my students to do, which is it looks like this. I want Mr. Addington to write me a letter. The first thing I do politely is I say, Mr. Addington, I'm really excited about the college application season. Would you be willing to write me a letter of recommendation? Maybe he says yes. If he says yes, yeah, okay. So then next, oftentimes I recommend that students would follow up with an email. Hey, I'm so grateful. Thank you so much. I'll be making sure you get that link from Naviance soon. And then they will need to go into Naviance and request that letter of recommendation because it creates a portal. Often in that email, that follow-up email, that is when you can provide that teacher with some extra stuff. I've attached my college essay and my most recent resume for you to review. I hope that you find this helpful because that calculus teacher or that history teacher only knows you in a very specific context, and it could be helpful for them to know, oh wow, I had no idea this student was doing this well in AP Calculus while they were working 30 hours a week at Dairy Queen. They may not know that, and it will be really helpful for them to have that full picture. And it's also just respectful of their time, because odds are they are going to reply and say, do you have a resume? So let's save their time, let's show some respect and give that to them in advance. The teachers will submit the letters via Naviance. You can watch that too. It's all kind of tracked and you get to see how that works. We really want to give teachers plenty of time. And then we have been told that admissions offices are hoping to hear from junior year teachers. So obviously you may have a teacher senior year that you had last year, but they're not necessarily wanting a letter from somebody that's known you for about 5-6 weeks. Let's see. Yeah, I think that pretty much covers it. Okay, and then after you have requested that transcript in Naviance, you've got it hooked up with your Common App or you've put those institutions in, we are asking for you to fill out one of these pink forms. And this sort of triggers a process for us in the counseling office to review that file, write our counselor recommendation or look at the counselor recommending profile, ensure the proper transcript is uploaded, take a look at everything, take a look at those deadlines. This is when we get that kind of, if you checked early decision, that's when we might kind of go, ooh, okay, let's have an extra conversation about that. So it's a two-step process to get those transcripts requested. One of them is the actual official portal request. We can't send it without that request electronically. This kind of drum rolls the process in the counseling office for us to kind of get everything uploaded and triple check it for you. That's what we need, those 10 business days, those 10 school days, so that we have enough time, because it's not a matter of just like, oh, let's just click this button. There are certain aspects where we have to literally go through a student's records, go through their portal, check everything off. It's not like an automatic process that automatically happens. So when we're talking about 10 business days, and did we double check that this date? This is 7? The 17th. Okay. So, this was last year's. Oopsies. So that's probably a Saturday. We won't be here. Sorry, it doesn't count. But so if you have a November 1st deadline, you're looking at an October 17th turn-in date, so that we have enough time. Because I can't emphasize this enough. You may feel like, I'm just one person. What's the big deal? But there's 100 just one persons. And the big deal is your college application. So we really want to give it the attention that it deserves. And so we need that time to make sure that all the ducks are in a row. Okay? So I'm going to pass it back over to Mrs. Rains, and she's going to talk to you a little bit about military as an option.
Okay, so on to the next slide. If your student is interested in joining the military, there are a few steps that they need to take for that process. They must be at least 17 years old. If they are 17, they have to have parental consent. They must have a recruiter. You can see they have to pass the ASVAB, which is like the SAT or the ACT, but for the military. They will have a physical exam that they have to do. They'll have to meet with an enlistment counselor. This way they can determine which job career they want to do within the military. And they have to complete an oath of enlistment. There's something called ROTC. So this is like an elective option in college for the students. There is no military obligation with this until their junior year. It trains them and gives them education on becoming an officer within the United States Army. So these are some of the colleges in Ohio that have the ROTC training. You can see there's like Kent State, there's Akron, some of the big ones from around here. And then if your student is wanting to leave high school and go into the employment field, you'll see on the next slide, there are different websites that they can go to. These websites have different job options for them. We encourage them to create resumes with their English teacher. We are happy to work on interviews with them, practice their interviewing skills, and we do encourage them to practice that. And again, the Medina County Career Center is an option for adult education if they are interested in that as well.
Good job. Okay, just a couple more slides left. This is just to reiterate the junior jump start. This was pushed out to all of the current seniors back in March, April of last year. 160 of you guys have already completed it, so thank you for doing that. If you have not already done so, please do so. You're going to get an email tomorrow morning, 8 a.m. It's scheduled send for all of these seniors. You guys will be getting this link. If you did it back in the springtime, in April, I think is whenever we sent it out, or May or something, and things have changed since then, you can also go back in there and you can edit your response. Okay, that way we have the most up-to-date information for whenever we go on to write that council recommendation letter. I know we've said it a million times. I don't want to stress it, but I'm going to. We need this in order to write you the best letter of recommendation that we can. So here's the next steps. So after September 6th, that's whenever we are going to start like really being able to intentionally have these great conversations with you guys, one-on-one senior interviews about what your next steps are. They can be done through Zoom as well. I know a lot of times parents are asking, is it something that's just the students? Are the parents a part of it? Your guys' call. We are totally flexible. Whatever you guys want to happen, we will accommodate that. So if it's best if we do a Zoom meeting and you're there and we're here, that's great. If you want to come on in. We're more than happy to have you. It's time to probably start narrowing down the college list and just start working on the applications. Don't hit send though, okay? Just like Mr. Addington was talking about, go in there, kind of get a feel if you're doing the Common App, get an understanding of what the layout is, how much time it's going to take, if there's supplemental essays, but just don't hit send until we kind of, you're having the English teacher in the English classes doing the essays, you're sitting and talking and having interviews with us. Now's the time to just start thinking about the teachers and the letters of recommendations if you need them. Also just to start looking to see if the colleges that you're planning on applying to is going to need them. And then sending your ACT and SAT test scores. If you are planning on doing one more test, I would say at the very latest this upcoming September, October test dates in ACT and SAT, and just make sure that those dates will come in before your deadline for the first college application. The very last thing that we're going to talk about, but I promise you it's last but not least, because we are so thankful for College Now and the partnership that we have with them. I don't know how long it's been. It's been a long time, okay? And we are so thankful. Highland Foundation funds this for us every year. Thankfully, we've been able to get this grant through Highland Foundation. College Now, we have an advisor every year. This year, we're so thankful to have Dr. Ann Gates for the second year in a row. And what they do is they walk our families through the financial aspect of college, and they're really the experts in that field. I'm going to have Dr. Ann Gates talk about it, though, because I'm stealing your thunder.
Thank you, Mrs. Lakins, and good evening, everyone. As is indicated, my name is Ann Gates, and I work with College Now, which is a college and career access organization throughout Northeast Ohio. So we serve in schools, both in the suburban, regional, parochial schools around Greater Cleveland, as well as in the Cleveland Metropolitan School District. So I will be here at Highland for 15 days this year, and to access my schedule, you may go onto the counselor's website, and you'll see that there's online bookings. I have appointments at this point through the end of November. So as Mrs. Lakin said, a lot of my time is spent working with students and their families on financial aid, and specifically completing the FAFSA. The FAFSA is a free application for federal student aid, and as was mentioned earlier, it opens on October the 1st. So if you are interested in having me work with you one-on-one with your child or without your child, however you prefer, I'm happy to have an appointment to do that, and we'll give you information in advance as to what information you need to have ready so that we can do that usually within an hour's time. So that, along with financial aid planning, is a lot of the work that I do. I'm also very focused on helping students to complement the outstanding work that our counseling team does here with respect to college applications, with essays. I love to talk with students about their writing and their ideas, and I'm happy to be another set of eyes on their writing. I'd love to help them find money for college. I appreciate the cost of college, and I'm happy to do whatever I can in that regard as well. So whatever ways I can be helpful, I'm here to support the counselors in that regard. Again, the majority of my work is with scholarships and the financial aid work. So there is, so just to summarize, one of the things that Mrs. Lakins and I have done is for this coming year, we have planned some sessions with the seniors during their ALL time. So we are going to be doing 2 sessions this fall, one each on preparing the college application. And the other, we're going to start actually in late September. And that is for the students to get an overview of the financial aid process and also to set up their FSA ID. FSA stands for Federal Student Aid. It is the branch of the United States Department of Education that sponsors the FAFSA. So students and one parent need to come up with an FSA ID, which takes about 15 minutes. So it will ask for your personal information, contact information, and then we'll have you set up some security questions. So what we would like to mention now is that for all interested seniors, we would love to have them come to that session in the Media Center. We'll have announcements to let them know when that will be in late September before the FAFSA opens. And they will need to have their 9-digit social security number, and they'll need to know how their name is presented on their social security card, because that information does get matched with the Social Security Administration as part of the verification process. So those are the 2 workshops for the fall. In the spring, we're going to be doing 2 scholarship workshops. So we will look forward to working with the students in those venues. The final announcement I'd like to share tonight is really actually 2. One is in late September on the 29th, there's going to be a financial aid meeting that College Now is going to be presenting. It's going to be on the 29th of September at 6:30. So I would invite you all to attend that so you can learn about the financial aid process in a broad way, and then also some specifics about the FAFSA. And then secondly, I'd like to make you aware of a scholarship, and I know there's a lot of details on here, but this is through the Cleveland Browns Foundation, the Marian Motley Scholarship. And one of the things that College Now does is we partner with a number of different community organizations and individuals throughout Northeast Ohio, as we have over the 50-year history of our organization. And this is a scholarship that has a very early due date. It is due September 30th. So I wanted to make sure that you are aware of this opportunity. The students will be receiving an email about this in the next day or 2. And you see here that students need to have at least a 2.5 minimum GPA, along with an ACT score that is at least 18 or 960 on the combined math and verbal on the SAT. There are also some income guidelines based on family size, and they have to be ready to go to college, of course, for next fall. And you'll see here at the very bottom, and again, the students will receive all this detail in their email, but it's really for students who are interested in something related to sports or education. And this is a broad arena. So if you, as a senior, or your child is interested in one of these areas, please have them read this very carefully. This is a $2,500 scholarship, and it is renewable for up to 4 years. So it's a $10,000 award. They will be awarding throughout Northeast Ohio to schools that are members of the College Now network. I would love to have candidates from Highland High School. I will start my work here on September 27th, and with this deadline being September 30th, I recognize that there's not time to be particularly helpful. And so because of that, I want to make sure to let you know that my contact information is on the counselor's website. I will work offline when I'm not here to help get this done if you have someone who's interested and meets the eligibility requirements. So please look over those eligibility requirements and let me know if you or your child are interested in applying. I will be very happy to help. So again, thank you for your support of College Now. Thank you to the Highland Foundation, and I will look forward to working with you in the coming year.
Thank you, Dr. Yates. 2 closing items here before we dismiss, and sorry for keeping you over. We tried to get done by 8 o'clock. We ran over a couple minutes, so sorry about that. Just kind of something to think about. It's really best if your son or daughter really kind of drives this process of this college application and scholarship process. And I know what you're thinking. It's like, I can't get my 17-year-old son to shut the bathroom light off. How do you expect him to get all this done and meet these deadlines that are coming up? And I get that, trust me. But it's really best if they are really heavily involved in this process. It's their future. They're the ones going to be going to the school. They're going to be the ones that are going to be spending the time. They're having to put the work in. So they really need to be highly involved in that. Last item, this is a tradition that started, I don't know, maybe 5, 6 years ago, 7 years ago, the Senior Sunrise. It's kind of a neat event for seniors. They all got an email on this. I don't know how many checked it, so that's kind of back to the earlier part there. Make sure they're checking their email. So at 6:45 in the morning, they're going to start meeting before that. On the home side of the stadium, they're going to be watching kind of as a senior class, kind of a kickoff to the school year in their senior year, the Senior Sunrise. So I'm sure there'll be lots of donuts over there and other items, breakfast items that sometimes we've seen some grills and stuff going over there, so hopefully they're all safe with that and keep that off the turf over there. But anyway, nice event for the seniors. So again, reach out to us if you have any questions, to your students' school counselor there, and I thank everybody for coming tonight.